Hi, I'm Paris, and about a year ago, to improve my health, I decided to make some diet and lifestyle changes, including changing out my deodorant. I've been using a standard deodorant, which is sort of a chemical cocktail, and I changed to the crystal deodorant, which has just one ingredient, and its sole purpose is to kill the bacteria that make you stink. First of all, to briefly review, why do people have body odor? Why do they smell, especially from under their arms? It's not the sweat itself that smells. People sweat a lot under their arms, but that sweat actually feeds bacteria that you have living there. That bacteria, as a byproduct, makes that smell. So to reduce the amount of smell, you need to either cut back on the bacteria or cut back on what you're feeding them, i.e. your sweat. Now, if you use an antiperspirant, you're doing that by reducing the amount that you actually sweat. This product does not reduce the amount you sweat. It's not an antiperspirant. So if you're someone who sweats through the armpit area of their clothes, this is not going to help you. An antiperspirant is about all you have that can help you with that. The Crystal Rock is a deodorant, not an antiperspirant. And the way that it works to reduce odor is it's an antimicrobial. It does kill the bacteria that live under your arm. Doesn't kill all of them, but it helps to reduce the number and stop them from multiplying so fast during the day. And in that way, it keeps the smell down. This is the very first crystal deodorant that I tried, and as you can see, it's just a big hunk of crystal. It's made from potassium alum, which is different from some of the aluminum combinations you'll see in other deodorants, but it does actually have some amount of aluminum in it, so it's not aluminum free. My understanding is that the molecule size with this is larger, so it doesn't get as readily absorbed into the skin. There's some concern with people and deodorants putting them under your arms, especially with women, and breast cancer, though there haven't been scientific studies to prove that that's an actual danger. Though to be on the safe side, you don't want to be applying those different ingredients to your skin. This single ingredient deodorant is one you might want to try. And just as a further note, potassium alum is generally recognized as safe in foods, and it's used in the making of maraschino cherries and pickles, so you've probably eaten some. Don't eat this though. Instead, you take it, generally you're in your bathroom at your sink, a little trickle of water, you get it a little bit wet, and then you rub it around under the arm 10, 12 seconds or so. If you need more, you can keep going. If you don't need so much, you can do just a couple swipes. In the plastic holder, you can see these little crystals. This is the same material. When you get it wet, sometimes a little bit will drip off, and then when the water evaporates, you end up with it reforming into a crystal separate from the big crystal. You probably have little tiny versions of these crystals that may form under your arm as under your arm dries out, but I've never seen any noticeable residue under my arm when I've applied it. This is probably the residue left after a couple hundred uses. Now, when you shower, you're taking the first step to deodorizing under the arms because you wash away a lot of the bacteria that's there, but you don't wash away all of it. That's why you smell much fresher getting out of the shower. But as soon as you've stopped washing the bacteria away and you have that first little bit of sweat that comes out that feeds them, they start multiplying, the smell starts growing. And for maximum effect, you want to get that crystal and get it under your arm as soon as you get out of the shower, or even maybe while you're still in the shower and you've dried off mostly, it's still a little wet there, use that water to spread it around. That way you're inhibiting the growth of the bacteria before it can even get started again. This Crystal Rock deodorant is the one that I now use daily. This might look a little more familiar to you. You don't have to actually hold the crystal. It comes out the top and there's a little dial at the bottom to push it up as it wears down. And maybe you can see the little bit of crystal residue right along the seam here by the dial at the bottom. That's because when you get it wet and then you stand it up with water on it, that water will drip down it and there's a little bit of the liquid that comes out the bottom with the crystal in it. The water evaporates, leaving a little crystal residue. And this Crystal Rock stick deodorant and this crystal stick deodorant, though they look very different outside, same stuff inside. And I'm glad to say I was able to get both my daughters to try the crystal deodorant, and they have both switched to it. They were using a regular spray deodorant earlier that would sometimes irritate their skin. They haven't had any problems with this. One of my daughters was concerned with these being unscented, thought it might be nicer to have one with the smell, so we did try out. This is a liquefied version of this crystal with lavender and white tea. It's a ball type roll-on with, again, the dissolved crystal material in it plus the scents. My daughter, I didn't try it, but my daughter said she didn't feel like it did as good a job of reducing odor throughout the day. In other words, it wasn't quite as strong or effective as the solid crystal deodorant. It does smell nice, but it's no longer a single ingredient deodorant. Now, I've been pleased with the odor reducing ability of the crystal deodorant. I applied it about 5 hours ago today. Little hint of smell. I mean, everybody has a smell, but nothing significantly different smelling from my elbow on up to my armpit. And speaking of elbows versus armpits, to spare you looking at my armpits, just to show you how it goes on and how it looks when it's dried, I'm going to apply some to my elbow. I'm going to apply the Crystal Rock deodorant, like this, through the crook in my elbow. It's all wet. I usually do it in front of the sink, and so a little trickle of water on it, put it in one armpit, put it back under the water for another little refresh with the trickle, and then the other armpit, and then you're ready to go. You don't have to wait to put a shirt on or get dressed. It's still moist, but I don't feel any slippery chemical kind of feel to it. And with the crystal, when I would apply this, my hand, of course, felt wet after holding the wet crystal, but I didn't feel any residue on my fingers after holding it. Okay, I will speed up the drying process here, and we'll look for any residue. Okay, it's now completely dry, and I neither see nor feel anything on the skin. As for how long the crystal deodorant works, I would say about as long as the average workday, 8 to 10 hours. The different thing is that once the bacteria has started to grow, maybe late in the afternoon, and you have some smell, reapplying this doesn't seem to help as much. Once the smell is there, the smell is there. I know with some other deodorants that have other chemicals in them, it seems like you can reapply them and get rid of some of that smell. If you needed this to last from early morning to get you through an evening of going out after work, maybe reapplying it at lunchtime before those bacterial colonies really get going, that might extend it out till 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And they do have several different versions of scented crystal deodorant, though you may find, as my daughter did, that it's not quite as powerful as the actual solid crystal. And the crystal deodorants are in the same price range as other deodorants. I think each of these was between $5 and $7. You can find out more about each of these. I'll link to them all in the description box down below this video. And I think they do a fine job of keeping you smelling pleasant without having to cover your armpits in chemicals. See you on the next review.